Absolutely. And one last one, and we're gonna wrap up this show. Favorite Booker T moment. I was watching WWE Legends, the biography on Booker T. Great, compelling story, man. I mean, obviously, him and his brother Stevie Ray, the Ebony Experience. They were on Global Wrestling Federation. At that point, that was not the best type of ideal type of wrestling because of the fan base, the experience, and what they had to go through as far as the racial epithets, which we will not use on the air. But Booker T, the Spinner Rooney, and how he was able to win off fans, just his fight, his hunger, his personality, the great promos that he did. Anyone who knows me knows I am a diehard Stone Cold Steve Austin fan. He is my goat as far as WWE. Him and Austin cut some great promos. The supermarket one. Remember when Stone Cold was beating up? You have any Grey Poupon? And then the quote from Austin as he's about to leave. Price check on a jackass. Hey, I'm sorry. And then the other one, champ, him, Austin chasing Booker T at a church. Whoever thought Austin of all places would go to a church?
I mean, he is from the Bible Belt, so I mean,
Yeah, I mean he is, but that was hysterical though. Oh, I also did show you that clip earlier. I don't know if you want to discuss it.
oh, yeah, you sure? You talk about me sneaking one in every show. You always get me.
I had to get you. I had to get you. Remember with him and John Cena, and when
Yeah,
John
I
Cena
know
said
which one you talking about.
for one night, for one night,
Yeah.
I want to spend one night with your queen. That, and then Booker's like, okay.
Yeah, but just one time. John, no, John. What's so funny
He's
about
like,
this segment?
hell
John Cena
no,
was looking
man.
confused as hell. I'm like, what the hell just going
Mm-mm.
Whoever wants to go first, what's your favorite Booker T moment?
My favorite book. Before we even started the show, I was telling Sports PSP that I was looking at some because I wasn't for it because I wasn't born yet. But I looked up Booker T highlights like a couple weeks ago. I was just bored and I was like, let me look at some Booker T highlights. So I saw that segment you in the supermarket in a couple of his matches. But my favorite because this is when I first got into wrestling was around a little bit before WrestleMania. No, it was because I remember after my first pay per view that I watched was the TLC match between who was it? No, it was Zack Ryder and Dolph Ziggler. Their TLC match for the United States Championship. That was when I first like really said, "Oh, let me just pay attention." So my favorite moment with Booker T was the lead up to WrestleMania 28. When they had Team Teddy versus Team Laurinaitis. And then that,
Mm,
like the feud, and it was like a few weeks going by. Nobody knew who to like because Team Team Teddy didn't have a. It was a tag match that they had going on for the GM to be GM of Raw and SmackDown and whatnot. But the Team Teddy needed an extra guy for the tag match, and nobody was signing up for it. And then I remember they were attacking Teddy Long in the ring, and then Booker T came from the commentators table, and he was fighting Mark Henry, and that was just my fit. That moment just stuck out to me because it was like, wow, like it was just you could see the passion, and it was just an amazing experience for me to really, and that was just my time to really pay attention to everything that was going on.
big champ.
Before I get to the favorite Booker T moment, I would be remiss if I didn't say this, man. Booker T is arguably one of the most underrated wrestlers in the history of wrestling. When you think about how he was able to succeed in not a lot of people can succeed in every promotion that they're going to. When you think about him in WCW, the first thing you think about is Harlem Heat, arguably one of the best tag teams of all time. I mean, won the tag team championship 12 times,
It's crazy.
beat some of the greatest of all time, beat the Steiner brothers, beat Public Enemy, beat the NWO. I mean, beat some of the greatest tag teams of all time. I mean, even beat the Road Warriors on their last run in WCW. And if you know the Road Warriors like I do, you know, you beat the Road Warriors, you beat somebody. So, I mean, he's one of the most underrated. Not only that, when he spent off and became a superstar, single star, I would say, won the World Television Championship multiple times. Then they finally put him over and let him win the World Championship. Two-time champ. I mean, five-time WCW champion. So he won, and then won the United States champion. So he won every title in WCW before they closed down. Then you go to the WWE. And if you know the WWE back then, like we know it now, there was a lot of skepticism about WCW guys coming over. All they don't know what they're doing. You know, this is a completely different ball game. They're going to be big fish. There was a big fish in a small pond. Booker T went right over to WWE and did the exact same thing that he did in WCW. Won
Right.
every single title in WWE. Won the United States title. Beat the late great, you know who, in a seven match series. You know who I'm talking about. We can't say his name. So, you know, won the European title, won the tag team title, won the U.S. title, won the Intercontinental title. So you go to each promotion that you went to, you've been a mainstay. Then not only that, you leave WWE, you go to TNA and you succeed. So, and you win titles there. So guess what? You know, he's arguably one of the most, when you think about title runs and you think about the accolades, a lot of people do not mention his name as much as they should. And a lot of people don't mention the name where he should. Because for you to be the Grand Slam champion in one organization, then go to another organization and be the Grand Slam champion, win every title in that organization, be a part of one of the greatest tag teams of all time, and was able to make, not only was a great wrestler, was able to make people laugh despite himself.
Right.
Wasn't afraid to be comical, wasn't afraid to do segments with Gold Dust, wasn't afraid to, you know, experiment and be, you know, the butt of jokes with Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know.
You
I
remember
mean, we
Gold Dust
all
with the
remember the
Star
famous
Wars?
blooper. Huh?
Remember Gold Dust with the Star Wars?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
But Chip, to
remember.
your point. But Chip, to your point, I'm sorry to interrupt you. To your point, he bet on himself because you know
Mm-hmm,
what? What he did was unique. Goldberg and Kevin Nash, they had big contracts before Vince signed with WC. Bought the rights. Vince McMahon bought the rights of WCW. Booker could have sat at home and collected as much money as he possibly could, just like Goldberg, just like Kevin Nash. But Booker was like, nah, I'm going to go to WWE. Let me try to compete. You remember his first entrance on WWE?
mm-hmm.
When he, I mean, and it took for him, in order for him to develop the type of respect and appreciation from the WWE. But Booker bet on himself, and he had a hell of a career. Booker was also a very good in ring wrestler. I don't think he gets enough credit for in ring skills, champ, as far as a technical standpoint. And not only that, personality and flair. He is a two-time Hall of Famer. People
Mm-hmm.
forget that component. And I don't
Yeah.
feel like people have given him enough respect. And the fact that he did it, because even though before that match there was a lot of controversy, Bash at the Beach champ, when he won the heavyweight championship belt against Jeff Jarrett, that was special.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there wasn't a heavyweight champion from that point since what, 1992, a black one.
Yeah. Since Ron Simmons.
Right.
Yeah, since Ron Simmons. I'll say this, man. People, like I said, people don't like the. I don't. And if you really hear about how people talk about him in the industry, people always say that Booker T is a class act, man. And that's arguably the best thing that you can get in an industry like the wrestling industry, where a lot of people are very, very cutthroat in that industry. But everybody speaks so highly of him. And for like I said, for you to go to, and you got to remember, WCW wasn't no bad organization. It was not no. Granted, it didn't last long, but it wasn't one of these B class organizations. He actually won. He actually was a tag champion during one of the best eras during that time.
Yes.
He made people pay attention to him. Even when he was world television champion, you wanted to pay attention to him. I mean, gave Bret Hart one of his best matches in WCW at 1998 Bash at the Beach. That was one of the highlights of Bret Hart at WCW because it wasn't very many. So the thing is about Booker T, he was, like I said, he's very underrated, Grand Slam champion in two organizations. Then with the TNA was able to do things there. Then come back to the WWE to instill wisdom in the young stars in Trick Williams and Carmelo. If you watch NXT, so if you really look at Trick Williams and Lash Legend, I think they're building that up to be kind of like Booker T and Sharmell was. I think they could very well be that. Because if you look at the look, if you blink your eyes for a second, Trick Williams looked sort of exactly like how Booker T was looking back in the 90s as he was coming up and winning the World TV title. So Booker T was very, very underrated, man. And let's not forget that little snippet, Hulk Hogan, we coming for you. So we can't forget about that one. That was that's epic.
I
That
don't
is
know why,
epic.
but I follow an Instagram that posts only that video every day, once a day. It's just funny.
Big Champ,
Yeah.
what was your favorite promo of Booker?
Um, Look, favorite promo of Booker, man. The first time I ever seen him was in WCW, and that was when he was facing off against Bret Hart. And he said, I'm going to prove to Bret Hart at Bash at the Beach that he's not the best there is, the best there was, or the best there ever will be. So, and for him to do that, for him to go toe to toe with a Bret Hart whose mic skills were impeccable, although he got lost in WCW at a certain point, for him to be
And
going
his
blow
technical
for blow,
skills.
yes, and the technical skills at that point, although that match ended in controversy, for him to be going against him is flat out amazing, man. And not only that, man, when he was going against Stone Cold, when he was going up against The Rock, Mike for Mike, you know, uh, with him and Chris Jericho, Stephanie McMahon, that was very, very, that was special as well, man. That was very, very special as well. So I mean, you got to get credit where credit is due. So, man, big ups to Booker T, man, a trailblazer in his own right, man. One of the most underrated superstars, arguably in wrestling history. Hell of a tag team, man. I had Harlem Heat posters everywhere in my room. I even went and got the do rag, painted stuff on my blue jeans, trying to be Harlem Heat, man. And the funniest thing about that, the funniest thing about it on his documentary, he used to talk about the pool hall all the time. And he always used to say how people used to walk up to him and say, "Hey, man, you remember me? I'm from the pool hall." But people didn't realize he was from Houston, not Harlem. So,
Yeah. Oh man, just his journey. Remember, Champ? I watched this on his biography and I read it and I was having this discussion with Ghost. Remember the Wendy's he used to work at?
mm-hmm,
Remember how he and his friends like robbed like the Wendy's store and other Wendy's franchises and stuff like that.
mm-hmm,
I mean that was like kind of like crazy like when I heard that type of stuff. But again, that's like how things were back in the day. But with Booker, man, he was like the youngest, 8 children, and to be that tough, mentally, like physically, spiritually, and his wife, Shamel, he met her during a time in WCW, and Booker, he just had he just had that it factor. WCW wasn't a bad organization. It's just that people, like at the time, they didn't know how to like run or utilize them the way they had with Scott Hall, with Kevin Nash. But Booker T did definitely put up some great matches. Him and Cena, they had a really good rivalry back in '04, for the United States Championship belt. And with King Booker, cause like 1 minute with King Booker, he'll have like this British accent, but the next minute you kind of piss him off, he'll go straight hood, just like the. But Booker, man, he's funny. He is absolutely hysterical, man, and just fun to watch.